Hi there, today we're going to be talking about Tamron's prime lenses for the Sony range of mirrorless camera systems. Here I've got a Sony A7 Mark III, but it would work with all of the other A7 type cameras in the range. Just take the strap off, put that on the side. The first thing you'll see is these are really small lenses. I've got a comparison of this is a 45mm f1.8 made for a DSLR system, and you can see they're physically much smaller than that type of lens. We've got a 35mm, we've got a 24mm, and we've got a 20mm. They're all f2.8. They're all using Tamron's OSD optimized silent drive system. Makes them really precise, really quick to focus, and they're just really nice lenses. They're all exactly the same size, so without the lens hoods on, if I just pop those two off for instance, you'll see they're pretty much identical in terms of size. They also are very similar in terms of weight. So we've got the 35mm at 210 grams, 215 for the 24mm, and then 220 for the 20mm. So if you wanted to use this type of lens on a rig with a microphone and what have you for video use, but you wanted to be able to switch between maybe a 24mm and a 35mm for different angles of view, different perspectives, you could do that really easily without having to worry about having to completely rebalance your rig because you've totally changed your centre of gravity, for instance. So very handy from that point of view. They're also really well balanced just on a camera. If you've got this around your neck and you're walking around with it, it's fairly unobtrusive and inconspicuous when you're walking around. So really nice thing to have on your lens. I love the way prime lenses work. I always used to be a zoom person, but I love the way that if you put a prime lens on your camera, you've got to think about how you're taking pictures, and you've got to think about your photography as you're going around. So we've put together a series of pictures. I went out shooting some images with the camera, with the lenses, just to give you an idea of how that perspective changes in different circumstances. Because the other thing that they're really good at, that I'll come on to a little bit later on, they're really good at macro. So these are 1 to 2 macro lenses, half-life size macro, which means you can focus right down to 15 centimeters on the 35mm, 12 centimeters on the 24mm, and 11 centimeters on the 20mm. You can get so close, it's just ridiculous. That gives you a great perspective for macro, because it means that not only have you got a picture of the thing that's really close to the lens, but you've got this wide angle viewpoint of the perspective of where that thing, whatever it happens to be, lives in its environment. So there's a picture of a little butterfly here, not butterfly, little. There's a picture of a ladybird here, which I shot just by some fields of corn, and you can just see how that kind of fits into its environment. I'll come back and show you some macro pictures in just a moment. So just to begin with, just on the table here, I set the camera up earlier on, sort of over here somewhere, and I popped a lens just on the table here. So it was about 12 or 13 centimeters in front of the lens that I was shooting with, and you'll see the 3 viewpoints here from 35mm, 24mm, and 20mm just going through. So it shows how close up and in a small environment. This is a tiny little caravan, so you get a good impression of how you can actually fill a space. I mean, from the point the camera was at, you know, this is probably 4 foot to the window, so it's not a huge space to operate in. And then just going through some of the local pictures that I took. There's a church up the road called St Helen's Church, where I got married. It's a lovely old church, and starting here with the 20mm, you'll see we've got the wall in the front, and then moving through to 24, and moving through to the 35mm. I shot the same church. It's an 11th century church, if anyone's interested. Really old, crazy old. I shot it from a different angle, just trying to shoot some pictures so that I'm walking towards it between these lenses now, 35mm, and then 24mm, and then 20mm, just to show how you fill the frame, but you're having to move nearer to it, and the perspective of the building changes as you do that, which is quite interesting. A village called Sutton Courtenay up the road. There's a beautiful little church there. It's quite a tight environment, and so with a 35mm lens you can only really take a sort of a detail shot of the steps, and the further you step back you go further away into the road then, so just stood here I can take a picture of the steps, and then the 20mm you can see instantly you get the whole building into the picture. A little bit tight, and the 20mm then gives you the full perspective, but you'll see there's a little bit more curvature at the sides, just at the extremes of the lens operation. Again, with a house in a village called Dorchester up the road, there's three shots stepping through here: 20mm, 24mm, and 35mm, just showing how that detail changes. But also, they've got an abbey there, Dorchester Abbey, and I've got a few pictures here which I've just subtitled with the various focal lengths, and you can see how as we're moving through from 35mm, 20mm, and 24mm, how the perspective completely changes. I really like the way that the 35mm works in this particular environment. That's what suits me as a photographer, because you can still shoot the gate at the front, but kind of get perspective with the church in the background, whereas with the wider angle lenses the gate's quite big but the church ends up, or the abbey ends up being quite small in the background. But it depends entirely on the subject, and it depends entirely on what kind of photography you do. If you're a landscape photographer, the wider angle lens may be more useful to you, but again, it really depends on how you do things. With cars, I like taking pictures of various classic cars, and the 20mm comes into its own when you're doing interior photography. You can see here I've just got it right by the front seats, photographing the interior of a car. But also you can get really up close to the front of a car and play with the way that the perspectives all get slightly pushed around, because it's such an extreme angle of view on the lens. It's really quite good fun. I mentioned earlier on macro photography. These are all 1 to 2 macro, so half-life size macro, and it's amazing how close you can get to things, and even just taking pictures of things like there's a shot of some nettles here where I've just got really close, but you can see we've got the background blurred out, but getting up close to various sort of there's a little droplet of water on the end of the leaf just here, and it shows how you can still take a picture of something close up with all three of these lenses but still retain a level of perspective as to the environment that you're in. The wider you go, so as we head through to the widest angle at 20mm, that gives you more perspective as to what the environment is around you, but it's harder to throw the background out of focus then, just because of the way that the physics of the lens works. Just playing through some of the other sort of macro shots that we've got here, you'll see that it's really good fun, and even in a field of corn you can sort of take pictures of the heads of corn here and then have the rest of the field in the background. I think they're great. It's a nice lightweight lens, very easy to have on your camera. It's a really nice lens to have as a walkabout. If you don't want to go out with a larger lens and you don't kind of want the hassle of carrying around something quite big, it's quite easy just to walk around all of the time with any one of these lenses on your camera, depending on which suits you most of all. I hope this has helped you to decide which might be ideal for you, and of course, if you'd like to buy a lens, they're about £400 at the moment, and at high street retailers. So pop into your local high street retailer. We're still, as you can see by my hair, we're still in the midst of coronavirus in 2020 at the moment, sort of in the middle of the summer. But yeah, pop into your local retailer. The stores are open now. They'd love to have your support, and they'd love you to purchase one from them. If you would like to join us as well, join us on our Facebook page. You can find it Tamron Lenses UK, and we'd love to see you there. Come and join us. Thanks a lot.